well. But you think about if you can have an article, all of it in uppercase, readability can be a problem. Because although it's outstanding, it works much more when it comes to headlines. Because headlines, you just use a few words, right? It's not a sentence, with the whole sentence, right? So in that way, it's easy, it's outstanding, it covers a lot of space, it's heavier, so it's okay. But if it's not, had it been it was not a headline, you cannot encourage someone to write, no one even whatever assignment or even an article. You'll never see an article written in uppercase letter, the whole article. It could be tough even to read, right? But the lowercase letters, they help. But now, still there's that confusion, debate, because some, they believe that if you have a headline in uppercase letter or like that, making them like that, still some are going to have a problem to read. That's what others say. So later on we say that some, they prefer to have a system whereby you have first letters of a word in a headline capitalized, right? I think you have seen that a lot, even in newspaper, that's what they do, right? They usually have maybe Malawi potato based in Africa. Potatoes, they'll just have the Malawi first letter M capital, the other ones lowercase letters, then the potatoes capital, the other one. So that's the much more preferred way that most of the papers do. You can even do your experiment. Go and take the newspapers there, check which style. You discover that you're not going to find the all uppercase letter, but you're going to find first letter capital, the other first letter capital, something like that. But the rules are the same. You're not going to be finding articles, right? That's in the main headline, because later on we're going to talk about the supporting headline, which is called the deck, where it's a little bit different, right? So, like here, exactly what I was talking about, that rather than use all cap for a headline, what many sub-editors do is to capitalize the first letter of each word, and it becomes like the way that example. We just have it looks like a headline on the newspaper for sure, because that's what we see most of the times, right? So there's that term that they use for that style. It's called the down style, right? That's the name they use. They say they will use a down style type, whereby they will have the first letter of the word capitalized, the rest lower letters, something like that. So the bottom line is, the aim is you are trying to find an appealing way of a headline. A headline that will be much more appealing, not just confusing to in the reader's eyes, right? Okay. What else? As he already talked about already, if you are following that style on the downside, it means you are going to create. It's going to be even aiding in the readability, because lowercase letters, they consume less space than the capital letters. So you are creating space that can help in terms of whoever is going to read the headline. And if you're using lowercase letters there, say, give you more reading advantage than when you use the headline in the lowercase. And okay, so I think that's a better one. And just quickly, let's talk about now. There's this. I think you see commonly most of the time when you check. If you just check your front page newspapers today, weekend, you discover that you have a headline, main headline, 2 words, 3 words. Then there are going to be maybe 3 sentences down there, which also looks like a headline, right? Then you are going to have the actual article. So those sentences that you see below the headline, before the main article, they are what is called a deck, right? And they say it is very important to know that a line alone, if you just have a line below the headline, it's not just a deck alone, but a deck here, it says that it is a headline system that has one or more titles, with each title self-contained with regards to meaning, right? So how do you know it's a deck? You see headlines that you see in your newspapers or magazines, whereby you have the main headline like that one. Then there will be maybe 3 or 2 sentences below with bullets, right? But if you read the bullets, you discover that the 2 sentences below are talking about the same thing. But will not just repeat what the main headline is talking about. They might talk about something which the main headline did not talk about. So that's what a deck is, right? It's more or less like it says that you want to make your headline much more appealing, right? So you know that if you can have 2 words or even 1 word, for example, if you say JB arrested, then since there are the 2 words, you have got space to make it much more bigger, right? If you make it much more bigger, it means it will attract more people because it will be seen from afar. So since there are a lot of things, people are not, they don't have much time to say they will see it, then they start reading the story. They might not have that time. So to save that purpose is when you are going to have a deck. A deck will have now maybe 2 lines or 3, which is going to be giving more information about the headline, right? Will not repeat what the headline has said, right? You want to have a headline, JB arrested, right? Then in the first deck, would say convicted of fraud. Then the other one could say maybe her properties confiscated, right? It's the same story, but if you take these 2 sentences that are, or headlines that are below, they are not just repeating what the main headline is talked about, right? So you can even think about the advantages or disadvantages, but especially advantages, whereby people who maybe are very busy could be able to know maybe more information by just reading the headline, right, and the deck before going to the main story. But if you want to be professional when you are writing a deck, because the headline does not say much things, right? So decks are going to tell to add more information, but it should not also exhaust everything. Just like a lead does, right? For a lead of the newspaper, we will more or less like summarize the story, but will not give you everything. There should be room for continuation of reading. People should say, I need to know more. That's the idea, right? So a deck system is a headline system that has 1 or more titles, with each title self-contained with regards to meaning, right? So so you can have, as I'm saying, if you go to the types of headlines, you discover you have other headlines that are called a single column, whereby they'll just have I think I've seen even on the newspaper whereby only 1 column there's a headline. Some they will be going through multiple columns, but these decks can be in both types. Okay. Yeah. Just like an example. Okay. Don't even know. Okay. So, like here, it's like an example of the same decks. That could be like you have a headline, and then more or less like they're being taken as decks, but you can have this line, second one, a little bit bigger, then you can have it even the small. It just depends on what you're talking about. You are trying to link the story that is talking about the same thing, right? But since the main one is much more broader, you know that the main headline is that one. The other one is below, but did not repeat exactly what the main headline was talking about. The other one also added information, so it's similar to this one. I don't know. I don't want to be over. What's the time now? I don't want to go beyond. I'll just take a few minutes. I know you're already exhausted. Maybe for the next 5 minutes. Um, Characteristics of DEX. There's a, how do you know that these are DEX? For example, you have a headline like this one, right? They will use the same, they might be different in terms of font size, right? But the font type or typeface will be the same. You can't use the main headline, Romans numeral, the below DEX, and then use another font. You will confuse the people, right? Usually they will have the same type, and that's one of the characteristics that you can know. I mean, you needed to make sure that this is one thing, right? And as I've already said, that if it's a deck, which is like, in other words, we can say a supporting headline, maybe to make it simple, right? If it's a supporting headline, as we know that it is a supporting, it should not repeat what the headline is talking about. It should be able to have meaning itself, right? It could have like as if it's talking about another aspect of the headline, right? So I mean, you could have a single headline or a single deck headline. You could have two headlines because it will depend on the stories, right? Sometimes you see, like, I think you have seen it before, when they say budget out, a new budget. It usually have so many decks. You could have maybe 4 of them down. Chaguti, education or internet level increased. Reduced. Those are decks, right? They will be coming under the headline, maybe 4 or 5 of them with points. Then after that, it will be a story. So, okay. What else? Decks that accompany the main headline should not be confused with what is called a kicker. If you have heard about kicker or rider, right? Maybe that's another new term. A kicker, you have some other headlines. Maybe you've seen them before, whereby there's a headline and then there's another small headline above the main headline. There's those scenarios, right? If you have got a small headline above the main headline, that is what is called a kicker, right? If I had an introduction, introducing the main headline instead of complementing it, right? But it's a type. Normally, normal decks are supposed to be below, not above the main headline, right? So a kicker and a rider, or even some other elements, if it's the above main headline, that is not a deck, right? And the decks that accompany the main headline could be in the lowercase or caps, different colors, smaller size. Well, but the thing is, you should not have a deck that is bigger in font than the main headline. Even in the color, if you can choose the colors of the, I mean, I know that by the size it's on, you have minimized the attention, right? But you don't make it much more appealing beyond the main headline. That's not supposed to be the case, because that's not the plan. So maybe an example, some of the examples, right? If you see this one, and you can see how the headline is, right? You don't see articles there. There's no A. More shady few news, right? And you see those dots, is the transportation ministry mandated to import fuel? I know now they are making it into a question, but that's a deck, right? I think all these are now questions. But what they're doing here, you see the headline, but now they are helping you to know some of the major points of the story before you read the actual story, right? It means if someone who glance at the headline, because headline alone in this one is a much more creative headline. You could not know exactly, okay, what shady deals. And these decks, as you can see, they are much more appropriate when you have a headline that is not that clear. You know that the way it is this one, people would think about it, so many things. So you add the decks that like now what you are seeing there, right? Another example, This is another example. And you can see here, how many do we have here? This is a little bit too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And even the weddings, and you can see the headline, how many words there? Low breaking could even be one. 1, 2, 3. Now check the number of words in the deck, right? You are having like a very, like more or less like a sentence, so many words. But this one for me would be, that's not that professional. Because the way you are seeing the decks here, they appear as if it's an actual story, it's whole. They don't even look like headlines, right? For print. There's too many. I know the story maybe could be, maybe it's a very big story, very long story, right? So content, maybe it's too much content. That's why whoever was writing wanted to put this so many decks. But normally, if he would have used maybe 3 or 2, will be more precise, it will be more readable from afar. Because here you could be somewhere, you could read the headline, but you could not read down there if you are at a certain distance, right? So that's the problem. I don't know what's the time. Okay. 3 minutes, right? Let's see where we're going to stop. I think we've talked about a lot. Okay, why DEX? Why do we use DEX? Orient visitors at a grace, because this is what you do. You want to orient visitors at a grace. For example, here, I'm going to headline in the deck. You have oriented them what's in the story. Offer a second layer of detail, right? As I said that you have got a main layer, your headline. So at least you want to have the second layer, at least that can add more information, right? Take a load off, right? If off the headline, right? If the headline is just a headline, the way it will be having a lot of weight in terms of what it carries, right? And the people will need more information to know the story. But once you have the decks, it's a little bit relieving the heaviness of the headline to make it at least more clear, right? So that could be why some of the reasons. Because as we are saying, we were talking about the coming up of headlines, right? You are going to be the one who is going to make a decision to say, according to this story, I should have a deck. It's not like a must that you should have decks, right? But the decks, they do help. I think it will depend on the type of story. As I told you, usually when you have a budget, something that is complicated with maybe economics, you know that if you write stories, an economic story throughout, people get confused, even the headline. So the deck, what do mean is simplify one or two things from the headline, and when they go to the story, it will be much more easier, right? Okay, I think maybe we can just, let me just finish here because I can even feelings myself that I think how many slides were we remaining with? Half of them. I think what I'm going to do, I'll just talk one or two things, then I will share the slides, right? The rest of the part, you are going to read them separately. Then when we come to other class, we just like revise a little bit that part, then we'll continue, right? But here we have talked about steps to writing effective decks, right? You want to come up with your deck, how do you go about it, right? So these are some of the steps. Maybe we'll start from here. Explain your message in one sentence, telegraph a single point. So these are going to be the ones that are going to, where we are going to start from. I think this is, okay. Yeah. Okay, I think we can pause there for now. Or should we continue? Because it seems that you can say we should continue. But I think since it's afternoon, this is a bit. But when I share the slides, you will know where we have stopped. You can find the time to just look what was down there, right? Then we can continue from there. Um, okay, and I think I need also to check your problem. See, I know that the
Buenos días.